Welcome back to the Northern Showcase. We look forward to spending the next hour with you. I'm Penny Olorenshaw, a former stage manager and now Webflow developer in Trenton, Ontario, and I handle communications for No Code North.
Hey, I'm Maggie Monceau. I'm a Webflow developer based in Toronto with a background in film and television. In our No Code North group, I take care of our designs and our gather space.
And I'm Jeremy Leroux, a Webflow and visual developer from Vancouver and creator of Country Everywhere, a directory and community hub for BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and disabled folks in country music. On the No Code North team, I'm the resident automations guy and the runner of streams.
Our mission in No Code North is twofold. First, to build a community of Canadian Webflowers and no code enthusiasts. And second, to showcase Canadian talent to the rest of the world. We host workshops, demos, and panel discussions on Friday at noon Eastern in the Lodge, our gather space. And once a month, we host the Northern Showcase here on our YouTube channel.
Hi, it's great to see everyone. Hi, Dale and Patrick and hey, Pixelita. We haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, everybody. If you have any questions, we do have a Q&A section at the end, but we also kind of filter in questions. So if you have them, add them to the chat, and we'll get to them when appropriate.
So we've had the pleasure of I had the pleasure of meeting Nancy Pang, our new, our next showcase. This is going great. At the summit in July. So let me introduce her a bit. Nancy Pang is a former mechanical engineer turned Webflow designer and developer based in Vancouver. In 2022, she finished in the top 16 of the first Webflow Speed Build Challenge. A certified Webflow expert and professional partner, Nancy was recently nominated as a top new partner in the Webflow Awards. Please help us welcome Nancy to the Northern Showcase.
Hey, Nancy.
Hey, Nancy. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that lovely intro, Maggie.
Oh, gosh, I should just stick to the script.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Nice to see you again. I missed you when you were in Toronto because you guys were so busy with the Partner Summit. But I had the pleasure of meeting you last year when I was in Vancouver, and it was lovely to get to know you. We've had many chats over the year, and it's really nice to be able to showcase you two now, our viewing audience here on YouTube.
Yeah, because I mean, Nancy's been a big part of the stuff we've been doing here on the West Coast, and so it's great to be able to share the lovely person that I've gotten to know over the last couple of years. So it's really excited for this one.
Yeah, and you've been kind of hard to avoid lately on the internet. I feel like you're everywhere, so we're really excited to finally get to know you and have everyone discover a little bit more about you before the conference, where hopefully you're like the winner of that award. But yeah, in the meantime, super excited to get to know you. And
yeah, same here. It's been a pleasure getting to know all of you and meeting a lot of people through No Code North. So it's been great.
Excellent. Yeah, I think our West Coast crew has really pulled together beautifully. We've got such a nice group of people that come together regularly and meet up. And you were recently, Emily was in town, Emily Linetto, and you all had a chance to get together. That's terrific. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's get right down to it then. So, Nancy, tell us a bit more about Nancy the person before we get talking about Webflow, the stuff, but mostly, where are you from Vancouver, or did you move to Vancouver? Because Canadians tend to move around a lot. What's your background?
Yeah, for sure. So my family moved to Canada when I was 10 from Taiwan. So since then, my family's been in the Lower Mainland Vancouver area. I went to high school. I went elementary, high school, and university in Vancouver, or I guess Lower Mainland Vancouver. So yeah, I identify as a Canadian when I travel, but I definitely have Asian roots. I love food. I love traveling. I love a good adventure. So as a person, I enjoy the outdoors a lot. I enjoy gardening. I like different sports. I like learning different things.
Mhm.
But as a person, I'm actually quite shy. I'm quite quiet until you kind of get to know me. So I'm glad that I've gotten to know a lot of people in the community and have this kind of connection. But I'm not that shy. I'll answer questions. I'm pretty open. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to just let me know.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So you mentioned traveling, and I was actually wondering about this image. And I have to say, Nancy's Instagram account is wonderful for all the places she's been and the wonderful shots that are there that I'm sure bring back many wonderful memories. But tell us a little bit more about this shot.
Yeah, so this shot was taken in Tofino. Tofino is on Vancouver Island, so west coast of Canada, where they're really known for surfing. This is my first time surfing, and I had a lot of salt water. I was the shortest one in the group, so I had to fight extra hard to get through the waves. It was a lot of fun, though. I really enjoyed it.
Great.
But yeah, no, this summarizes like the day, kind of the mood, hanging out with friends, doing something new.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful shot. Now, have you been surfing since then? When was that?
That was probably 2017 or 2018. I have not surfed since. I've been wanting to surf. I signed up a couple of times when I'm traveling to go surfing in different countries. I guess I tried it once in Mexico to sign up, but because of weather that got canceled. I love to try again, but I just haven't had the chance yet.
Right. Excellent. Well, you're far more brave than me. I'm not a great swimmer, and the thought of throwing myself onto a board and riding down a wave it's like skiing for me. It's like, no thanks, I don't need to do those things. So what I did gather from your Instagram is that you're very brave and you will try lots of things, and I really admired seeing that. So tell me about, obviously, Webflow is something that you've come to more recently. Tell us about your original education and that job that's quite different from what you do now.
Yeah, so I went to school for engineering, specifically mechanical engineering. And I went to engineering thinking that I really enjoyed learning how things work, really love learning systems and mechanics of how everyday items, how they function, why they're designed a certain way, why buildings are the way they are, and door handles, just different things. And because of that, I chose mechanical engineering. And from graduating mechanical engineering, I went into oil and gas industry, worked in Alberta, around in the field, checking out really, really big equipment, and making sure that they are working for the plant. So that was really cool. I got to learn a lot of things. It was very exciting as an engineer. But since then, it's been a journey. I don't know. I guess I can talk through a little bit about the journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because obviously, that's one part of your life, but you're somewhere else now, and you had to get from one to the other. So yeah, let's hear a little bit more about that journey.
For sure. Yeah. So from being a field engineer, kind of maintaining things, making sure things work, planning for that, I then was laid off. Oil and gas industry is kind of up and down. So with that, I went actually traveling for a bit, but came back to Vancouver because my family's here. A lot of my friends are here. So I came back to Vancouver trying to find an engineering job. It was actually quite difficult because I didn't have that much experience as an engineer. And the field industry in Vancouver is very different. So I ended up getting a job doing consulting in building systems and construction. which is entirely different. But I really enjoyed it because I got to learn something else. I got to learn how buildings work, how HVAC, why offices are always so cold.
Why is that?
It's because building systems, when you design them, you have to design for the whole floor, right? It's really expensive to have specific kind of environment for each room if you had to design for that. So they just generally design for, this part of the building gets the most sun, so we want to make sure there's enough cooling for them. So the rest of the building gets extra cold to kind of compensate for that.
Great.
So that's kind of the reason why. It really depends on how much they're spending on a building system, but that's usually the norm for office buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically trying to balance out the fact that there are different areas, and it's like, well, we'll just make everybody uncomfortable then.
Yeah, at least it's not too hot for the people that's suffering the most from the sunny parts.
Right. Yes, this is true.
So that's really interesting. I got to work on residential buildings, a lot of commercial restaurants actually, which is really cool. I love telling people about the restaurants I've worked on, except for the part I'm like, the things I actually worked on, you don't actually see. It's kind of behind the scene. I'm like making sure that when you go to the restaurant, it doesn't smell like a lot of, like, it smells good, but like not excessively. There's not a lot of oil fumes, right? And that it's ventilated well, plumbing works. So it's a very behind the scenes. So whenever I go to restaurants, I'm like looking up at like how they put together the HVAC. And then so kind of from there, my partner and I wanted to go travel. We both really enjoy traveling and venturing together. We decided that we want to live somewhere else before. So there is this working holiday visa that a lot of countries like to get young people to kind of go to their country to explore, to work. And we wanted to do that before we exceeded the limit. So the limit for a lot of countries is 30. For a lot of European countries, it's 35. So we decided we wanted to go to Japan, which the limit was 30. So we quit our jobs in 2019. End of 2019 to basically go to Japan, move there for a year to both to ski because they have wonderful powder, and to also just travel around Japan. Long story short, the pandemic happened.
Oh, of course. There was this thing happened. Yeah,
it was pretty sad. I mean, like, we did get to do a lot of exploring and adventuring, so it was great. But we decided to call the trip kind of early at 6 months. That's when we were supposed to renew our visa for another 6 months.
Right. Okay.
At that time, they're like, we will probably no longer offer flights to Vancouver. So it's either we decide to stay and for don't know how long, or we come back and figure things out. So we came back to figure things out. And at that point, we started a travel blog. We were kind of just updating our friends and family about our adventure. And that's kind of how I got exposed to more of websites and really learned that I really enjoy it. I did a lot of travel photography when I traveled the first time after getting laid off. So I wanted to feature the photos on something, on a website. And this travel blog was how I was going to do it. And so coming back to Canada, we stayed with my partner's parents. They live on Vancouver Island. And because they kind of live in a more remote community and they're being really careful, I wanted to find something that's also remote possible in terms of job. And a lot of engineering job requires you to be kind of in person because you have to stamp a lot of the design that you produce, and I didn't want to do that. Right. So I ended up exploring more about websites, visual design, learned lots online on YouTube, also bought a course and started really going down web design, thinking that is what I'm going to do. And that's how I started. And I transferred, so I started our travel blog on WordPress, And then because since learning about Webflow, I think I learned about Webflow in 2020 when I was looking for remote jobs. I was like, oh, this company has like so much to offer, just as like a employer, not as like as a product. I was like, oh, that's so cool. So that's how I learned about them. I was like, oh, well, they offer this really cool platform tool, and that's how I learned about Webflow. And then I decided to migrate my site from WordPress to Webflow and haven't looked back since.
My goodness. Yeah. That's a busy couple of years in there. So that period spanned from when did you graduate from university?
I graduated in 2015.
2015. So you've had, you had like 5 years of sort of 4 or 5 years of engineering.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was a pretty hard decision because as an engineer in Canada, you have to have a degree from an accredited university. You have to work a certain amount of time to apply to be a professional engineer. And I had applied for that designation, and I did receive it. It's really funny because professional engineers the acronym is PEng. Yeah. Which is basically my last name. So throughout school, everyone's like, "Oh, you're already a PEng." And so transitioning away from a professional engineering job, I'm still okay. I still have my last name. But
did your parents question whether that made sense? Because I know a lot of parents, especially who've suggested a professional career for their children, are kind of like set on this is how you set yourself up for life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I did consider that, and I didn't tell them too much. I just thought that I'll go and try it, and if it works out, great. If not, then I'll get back to engineering, and that's okay because I have that designation now that I can get back to it pretty easily. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was definitely hard because of that, and I didn't know if I should be telling people, hey, I'm transitioning into a new career online, kind of publicly. So I stayed quiet for a while, kind of figuring out what I want to do. But yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk. So how did you take, I think you mentioned something about taking a course, but is there anyone in particular you took courses from or that you learned from?
Yeah, I bought the courses from Ran Segel. I bought the whole bundle. I started Intro to Webflow, also as a freelance master course as well. Mm-hmm. I forget the name specifically, but yeah, I took it in and was like, I'm gonna go through it and figure out if this is for me. And I learned a lot. So thankfully it worked out. And it's not just about the course and the learning. It's really about the community they have too, because that's how I've got my first couple of client projects specifically. Okay. So that was really helpful starting out. Starting out was never easy. So that was helpful because of that.
Right. Okay, so you started building websites. How did you get so you got your first couple of projects through Flex Academy, connections to that community. How did you get your first non-community project?
Yeah, honestly, so I started with, the gigs from Ran Segel's community, Flex community. And from there, I then applied for jobs, which I actually ended up going full-time for. I worked for Slam Media Lab, and I currently still work for Adaptable, doing contract work. Okay. So those, I guess, the jobs there, they came to the agency. But other jobs that actually came to me aside from, I guess, the original community they came to me from LinkedIn. People messaged me directly on LinkedIn. I was really shocked too. I was like, oh, how did you find me? And I'm glad you reached out because I love to work on the projects. So that's right. Yeah.
And were those people that were looking for Webflow developers, or they just found you through some other approach?
I believe they found me because they knew about Webflow.
Okay.
So I didn't need to convince them to transfer to Webflow or to really sell Webflow. So that was really good. So I think they did find me through like Webflow or some aspects of it, and also in Vancouver as well. The two clients that came through early on were from Vancouver.
Okay. All right. And so because you have the Taiwanese background, and I believe you also speak Mandarin, is that true?
Yeah, I do. I do speak Mandarin. It's I'm a little ashamed because I don't speak it that well. I can. It's at a definitely elementary level. I recently worked on a project with a high school classmate who's from Taiwan, and he's actually in Taiwan with a business. So I helped him with his website, and it was really interesting because I was able to converse in Mandarin, but training and then training his staff, a lot of it was done in English, and they're fine. They're actually really good in English and in terms of understanding. So that was totally fine, but it was really cool. I got to do that.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I was wondering, because there is a large Asian population in the Lower Mainland, does the fact that you speak Mandarin help you at all in finding clients? Does that draw people to you, or has it made no difference particularly?
I don't advertise it too much that I can offer Mandarin services, but it just, I'm not that confident in it, but I can. It's really difficult to learning the technical terms for website language to kind of deliver a fully Mandarin website experience. So I don't advertise that, but recently it's really interesting. I had someone that actually reached out through email asking me to if I did a certain thing. It was actually a really easy integration with Jotform, and the email seemed a little sketchy at first, and then I was like, oh, the number is actually a local number, so like might as well like check out what's up. And so I ended up asking the client, hey, how did you end up finding me? And he's like, oh, I Googled Vancouver website designer and Chinese. And apparently I came up. I was like, oh, wow. So yes, I think clients do find me magically through that if they wanted to.
Right. It's like a whole different community to promote yourself within. That's pretty valuable, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Certainly.
Yeah. So you did the Speed Build Challenge, and you finished in the top 16. So that was the very first Speed Build Challenge that was done, right? The
very first one, I believe, was done the year before. So I was the second round.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was that experience like, and what got you to sort of got up the gumption to go and give it a try?
Yeah, I really enjoy pushing myself and like putting myself in situations that I may not enjoy or just like see how things go, challenge myself because growing up, I always thought like, oh, I'm never afraid to work hard. I think that's kind of how I got where I am. Just I'm not afraid to work hard if I have to. And I love challenges because they expose me to different things, and I get to kind of learn about myself in a way that I wouldn't under normal circumstances. So the speed challenge came up, and I was like, well, might as well try it, give it a shot. So I put in the first initial round is a online submission with basically the first round of the challenge, which is done on Loom. So you record yourself doing the speed challenge, and then they tell you if you made the top 16 or not. So I submitted my application, my challenge, and surprisingly I made it. So that was fun. That was like the first part. So I was so excited. I was like, are you serious? And then the next phase was a online live stream of the secondary challenge, which, oh my gosh, I don't think I've been that stressed in in a very long time. I was so stressed for it. Just like I haven't been online on a live stream ever. So that aspect of it was pretty new to me. And then like having to perform under pressure, I did not do very well. Oh. But it was still a good experience to kind of know like, oh, hey, I can either work on it a bit more, or like I can, maybe it's like online challenges are very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but good for you for going for it. You know, it's taking on that challenge and, you know, just giving it a shot. And I think that's what I see when I look at, you know, like I say, your Instagram and, you know, and I look at some of the work that you've done. It's like, yeah, you go for it. So
yeah. Whether that's good or bad, but mostly it's been good. I learned about myself, and I look back and I'm like, wow, I did that, and I feel like I feel proud, regardless of the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, just having the, you know, the nerve to do it, you know.
Really, don't think about it too much until like you're
yeah.
and then you're like, oh, I have to do this now.
All right. So now, tell us a little bit more about the kinds of projects that you've done. Actually, we have a question from Patrick Corsetti. How do you feel about the new speed build challenges that are popping up that allow for more tools to be used instead of bare bones? Would you try again now?
Very good question, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asked if I wanted to participate in the speed build challenge this year. And I said, I'll probably hold off for now. I'm honestly very, very stressed. But the idea of bringing, basically not starting from bare bone, starting with existing tools, I think that approach is more accurate to what we do every day. You have your existing tool set that you get to bring in as you work on a client project. So it mimics that a lot. I like it. I think that the overall idea kind of mimics, it's more realistic. It's like going into a test and the teacher's like, oh, it's an open book test. And you're like, oh, great, I don't need to study. But really that book is going to be there. You know, and like when you work in real life scenarios, the book's going to be there. You can apply it. If you know the material, you don't have to reference it as much. So it really depends on like what you want to do with it. So I love how the direction they're going.
Cool. All right. So tell us a bit more about the kinds of work that you're doing now and what you enjoy about working in Webflow.
Yeah. So the type of projects I work on right now, it varies a lot. I help clients do design and development from start to end. I help clients with migrations as well, so from an existing platform into Webflow. I help them with audits, with maintenance, so kind of all over, and I love that I'm able to offer that. I get a lot of questions from clients whether I like designing better or development better. And I still don't have a great answer for that. I really enjoy both, and the combination of both that I get to do pretty much every day. It's a good mix that I get to be creative in designing, but I also get to implement, which I love. So I get to work on, in terms of industry or niche, I say that I don't really have a niche defined, but I get to work for all different types of industries, and I love that because I get to learn about their industry. I get to learn about what they do, and then try and solve problems for them using a website, kind of help make an impact so that their website works for them.
Mm-hmm.
It works with their workflow. It's all very unique.
Right. I saw someone recently, just this past week, had written a blog post on Substack, I think it was, talking about being a generalist, and the fact that you're not just doing one particular type of work all the time. Like, you're not just a UX designer or just a Webflow developer. And I think that's one of the things that makes Webflow kind of unique, is that it's a great tool for people who have both that sort of analytical mind to learn, the technical side of building a website, but also that, artistic design communication idea that is to be able to put those together. That's something that's kind of unique within Webflow, probably more than anything. Do you have a particular design approach or design style that you take with these projects?
Design approach. I think my approach is it's very similar throughout all the different projects I work on,
Mm-hmm.
depending on like what the client's needs are. Really taking from understanding what they need, so their goals, what the requirements are for the website based on what they're trying to do. So really learning about that first, and then determining what are the specific steps needed to get there. So the overall, like, the steps could be pretty similar throughout the different projects, from like discovery to see reviewing branding to make sure that they still like what they have, or they want to do something different, kind of determining that upfront, and then go ahead into wireframing, content strategies, and then designing it out. And then once they are happy with it, then we go ahead and develop. So that those steps are pretty much the same for every project, but it's the overarching, like, oh, what do they need? What timeline are they looking for? And because of these factors, we need to kind of figure out what time, I guess, how these steps fit into that timeline.
Right. All right. So Patrick has a good old Patrick with his questions. Is there a goal industry that you'd love to add to your bucket list of industries worked in?
Yeah. Let me think.
Something you haven't done yet.
I think something I haven't done yet is more on the physical product side. So kind of thinking e-commerce, but not e-commerce. So not like online shopping, but just displaying, maybe like it could be for a beverage, it could be displaying for a bike, or some kind of product. I want to do that. I think that, so yesterday I had a discovery call with a client that's basically offering a product. He's a manufacturer. So I think just talking to him about it kind of brings me back into engineering, like, oh, this is so cool. And like being able to put myself in his shoes and try to design something that will work for him is a really neat concept. And that I wanted, that would be an ideal thing that I want to work on.
Right. So, and Dale had actually asked a question about brand design, brand work, but you kind of answered it already. But just like, how do you do branding, and how far, does that, like, how many of your projects usually include branding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of branding, I don't offer branding. I don't offer branding, but I try to work with their existing brand. I look at what they have. A lot of times it's not very much. And I would recommend, hey, if this project will work a lot better if you've gone and did like a new branding or an updated branding, which I don't really offer. But if you're pretty happy with what you have, I can help work with it. I will work with what you have and kind of suggest different things to see how they feel, kind of giving them, kind of working with what they have, depending on if like their budget tight or timeline tight, if they're open to it. A lot of times, if they don't already have branding done, they're probably not open to branding unless they are doing something significantly different, or they want to, if they're open to try new things. So I don't include branding. I don't offer it, but I can work with what they have.
Right. And so do you have other people that you would refer them to if somebody really needed to update a brand in order to have the website be successful? I mean, that's that.
I have met a few. I do have a few local connections I would refer to. I haven't quite yet. I haven't reached that point, but I think it'd be really neat to be able to do that. Basically working with other people in the community to bring a project to life. I think that'd be really cool, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Maybe that's something you all should organize out in Vancouver, is like a day of, or even just an hour of showing agencies what Webflow can do, so that you can make some connections within that, branding world. Or
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, just thought off the top of my head. So you became a Webflow professional partner. Now, when did that happen? And I know things have changed. The whole partner program has recently changed. So
yeah,
so
it
a partner.
It used to be known as Webflow Experts. So that happened for me as an individual last year, I think in April. But before, when I was working at an agency, they also had that status. So basically, I was able to get that status while working there with them. So it was a very surreal moment when I got the email saying, "Hey, your application looked great. You are now officially an expert." So yeah, no.
Yeah, that would feel good. I have not gone down that road yet, and I understand that the program has changed a bit, although we're still waiting for the final details, I think, or maybe they've recently been announced on how to achieve partner status. What is it about being a professional partner now with the new program that you're most looking forward to, and how has it been so far? Did it bring you more clients? I suppose we start with that.
Yeah, for sure. So being a Webflow partner or expert previously, you are placed in their directory for people that if clients are looking for people to kind of help them with Webflow, we are in that directory to pick from. So it's really helpful. I have gotten really good leads from that. So in terms of benefits of the program, that is definitely the top benefit that I reap the most benefit from in terms of clients, because the clients that do find me through the directory, they're most often international. So I wouldn't have gotten that exposure without Webflow's directory. So I do very much appreciate it. But with a new program, I think it's really neat going to the Partner Summit for the very first time, getting to meet people and talk to all the other partners. I think it really brings in the community, even though you see everyone online, but being face-to-face in person, talking through some of the major things that you like, day-to-day challenges that you go through as either if you're like running an agency or if you're just a freelancer. It just kind of tells you, hey, you're not alone. So I really enjoy it. So being a part of that was wonderful.
Have you been to Webflow Conf in the past?
Yes. So I was able to go in 2022, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, that was the big one, sort of.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to go last year, the year before I went. And I'll be there this year, coming up.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. In San Francisco?
No, I'll be going to London.
Oh, I thought I was going to be able to see it. That's wonderful. You're going to be in London. That's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I am super excited about it. I was so sad that I wasn't able to go last year when they have multiple cities. And And I mean, this time, because I've been to the one in San Francisco already, I'm like, oh, I want to try and make connections with other people that I see online all the time, but in London. So, yay, Patrick.
Yeah, so I mean, you'll be able to meet a bunch of the Floxies. There's a lot of women there. So let's talk a little bit about being a woman in the Webflow world, or being a woman in the tech world, because there aren't an awful lot of female developers. There are some amazing ones, but there aren't an awful lot of us. Do you ever feel like you're compared, or do you ever get any of that sort of pushback because you're a woman?
Yeah. As a female in this industry, in this line of work, I don't notice it too much. I guess in contrast to the engineering work I was doing before, and like going into engineering school, my class in mechanical engineering had 20% female.
Okay.
So in contrast with that, I don't really notice it, and I don't really notice any difference in treatment that I've experienced in the past as an engineer. So I'm very thankful for that. It's definitely really refreshing. I don't know if you experience much on your end as a female in this industry, but I've been pretty lucky that everything that I do, I don't notice it at all. I don't know if it's because I'm more like, I am more insensitive to it because of where I come from. But I guess, comparing the ratio of gender, I did, like someone at the summit did mention a lot of people that are developing apps for the Webflow marketplace. I think most of them, I want to say a good portion of it are males. So they're like, we love to see more female developers like putting in applications for these apps for marketplace. So there is definitely a contrast, but I don't feel any difference or different treatment because of it.
Right. I would say for me, I've not noticed it in the Webflow world particularly. And I think part of that is just because so many of us came in from a variety of different backgrounds, whether we were already web developers, or if, the pandemic sort of caused a transition. So I think there's a lot of people who were sort of, at various stages of their lives and their careers. I have noticed it sometimes when I'm talking with developers who are sort of coders, that, because there's an awful lot of male coders, and that sometimes there is that, well, why would you know about this? I'll run into that sometimes. Yeah, but that could also have more to do with my own level of knowledge, code knowledge, and than anything else too. Anyway, is there something within building a Webflow site that you would do all day long if you could?
I don't think I would do it all day long, honestly. I really enjoy building in Webflow. Like, I think that I love being able to execute and to be able to bring a design to life and do it really well and do it reliably, such that it's scalable for the client and that it's reliable, so that it fits them, their needs. So setting up in a certain way so that if they don't have a team, then the main person can go in and it's super easy for them to do. Or if they do have a team, then provide training so that they are able to handle it on their own. So I enjoy building, but at the same time, I love being able to be creative as well. I think I find it really hard just developing.
Right. Yeah. Are you using some of the newer features like components and slots? Have you been able to start sort of incorporating those into builds?
Yeah, most certainly. I think that components and slots, they really enable the client to be able to do a lot more in terms of building out static landing pages. It's super good for that. So definitely been diving in, trying to put together systems that will work for the client. But at the same time, a little nervous too. There's so many updates coming up that I'm hoping that once I set it up, the updates that come won't change it too much, or be complementing that, so that at least they aren't having to come back and like have it kind of re-alter to make it work for their existing system. Yeah.
So one more comment here from Dale, which I just seem to have lost. There we go. By the way, congratulations on being a finalist in the category Webflow's 2024 Top New Partner. That shows your diligence, dedication, and hard work.
Thank you. I am super honored, and I don't even know how it happened. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised, but I'm also so happy and excited.
Yeah. Now that came out. That was announced prior to the summit, right?
No. So that was after the summit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's exciting, and we're so excited here at No Code North to have a Canadian who's nominated for one of those awards. That's wonderful.
Happy to represent.
Hey, absolutely. All right, I got one more picture to show, and I think it's going to show again just what kind of gumption, and I seem to be using that word a lot today, but and hopefully this is a good picture to show.
Okay.
But there you are. And when I saw this shot, I went, your form looks beautiful, but also like, wow, that's again, you going for it, which I love. So where was this?
Yeah, that picture is on a remote island in Thailand. It is when I say remote, it's basically on that island, there's no buildings to actually stay in. So you go there, you camp, or you go there for the day. Right. So we went there for a couple of nights and stayed in these tents right along the beachfront. It is amazing. So that was when we quit our jobs, and we actually, before going to Japan, we went to Thailand because one of our friends from university was getting married. So we went to Thailand for a month, and in that month we were able to visit different parts of Thailand, and that was part of it. So that beach was just so beautiful when you go snorkeling, basically walking right out. I really enjoyed it, and if anyone wants to go, just let me know. I think we do have a blog post about it, so I'll refer you to the blog post.
Excellent.
But I love that a lot, and there are just like all these different swings, and it's
Wonderful. Now you're married?
Yes.
Kids?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, not yet.
All right. Excellent. Okay, so I've been talking so much here. Let's just bring the rest of the folks back in again. And I'm sure you guys have some more questions for Nancy. Oh, Patrick says, most important question, beach vacation or ski trip?
Man, I'd say that I'm not usually a beach vacation person. I do enjoy a good beach, but not just to like lie around and tan. I like to go explore. I like to be on my feet and like walking to different places and like checking out different things. So I'd say probably more of a ski trip. I also picked up skiing, I'd say maybe 7 years ago. So I guess it's been quite long now. But it was, oh my gosh, learning as an adult really sucked. Everything hurt. But ski trips are great.
Cool. All right. So any other questions, you guys? Oh, Jeremy, you're muted.
You're muted.
I was curious, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what things do you think that you brought from like engineering that like help in what you're doing with you know the web design and development?
Yeah. So from engineering, in school you learn about designing too, but designing, I guess, the overall design process. It's a little different, but same principles apply. You are really thinking about the end user, how they use a product. So I bring that part of it over. And in terms of the development side, I did learn a bit of coding in school, but I don't do any of that really. I try not to. But in terms of like building a reliable system is really key. And I think I bring that aspect over. It's a major thing I value, that I want the things I build to last and to be really good performing for the client. So I think about that a lot when I implement systems, thinking about what are the failure points and how do you mitigate it and how do we try to avoid it or try a different solution just so that it can be better in terms of reliability or cost, just considering the whole thing. So I think I bring that part from engineering for sure. And I don't know, I feel like that's just how I am, but I have gotten comments from people like, oh, that's so engineer of you. But I'm like, oh, is it? But I think I do bring that side of it. I love to be analytical. So if there's any data or anything, I love to dig into it and finding out like new solutions. I don't know. I just enjoy like learning new things, but it can be pretty overwhelming. I'd say over like the last since transitioning into this industry with web design development, I have been overwhelmed multiple times, but meeting people and talking to people about some of the challenges have really gotten me to feel like, oh, I'm not alone and it's totally okay. Yeah, I think I don't know if I answered your question, Jeremy, but
No, definitely. I think the I mean, you can see it in the interview and everything else, and in who you are is like you're just not afraid of like the challenge of like stepping up to plate and just trying something. And so I guess being okay with like even like with the speed build, like I mean, I'm terrified of doing like an online speed build kind of thing. That stress level would like be here for me, and I'm not sure I'm like the type of person that would push to that. But you definitely seem like you would jump in if the timing was right or whatnot to like just push yourself, and so I think that's cool. And also just the seeming to be adaptability. I have one kind of follow-up question to that is like, what do you do? Are you working? Do you shift people to something when you're like working with them if they have something already established, like an existing Webflow build, or do you try to bring systems? Do you find you can bring kind of some systems into like an already existing build, or do you even try?
Yeah, I think that great question. So I think it really depends on what the client is trying to do, like in terms of their budget. A lot of times I get existing sites from clients and it's a mess. It's a mess. And I tell them, hey, it is not as great as it could be. And I tell them kind of the pros and cons of how it could be better, whether that would serve their need going forward, or if they're just happy with kind of how it is and we're happy to kind of make updates as they need. But if they want for it to be more scalable, I really like ask them key questions to think about if this is a solution for them, and also tell them how much that would relate in terms of budget would equate to. But yeah, so certainly I want to bring skills in to every project to help the client. So if that's building out system, it really depends on what they need. Like if I think they need a system, I'll propose that and kind of tell them why. If they don't need a system, they already have something that works. I usually make suggestions if I find that there's certain things that can be improved on. So
Do you have particular systems or frameworks that you use?
When you say framework, do you mean like building frameworks or?
Yeah, like building frameworks. Like in Webflow, we have a few that we tend to use. But are there ones that you gravitate towards, or?
Yeah. So for all my builds right now, I don't use a specific system. I'd say there is there is certain things borrowed from certain systems that I think works well. So I wouldn't say I use one system solely. Recently, I've been learning Lumos, and it's been really interesting to see how like a different approach to that and how scalable it is. I say that it's very powerful, but it also depends on who the client is and like whether their site is one page or like multiple pages, because I think different frameworks work for different size of sites. So like, taking that into consideration. But no, I don't use a certain specific framework for all my projects.
Cool.
Great.
I'm just curious, being so analytically inclined and interested in system, what's your opinion on the latest development on components, and have you been able to integrate them at like a larger scale on a project if you had something that's that kind of size, or are you kind of leaving it for now and let it mature a bit? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I definitely have used components, and I think it's a shame if you're not yet. It's just like it brings you so much more power to do certain things. But I don't have a system developed that's in terms of like a library of things. I do have a library of things that kind of I've dropped in. I've seen like inspo from here and there, but not a very organized library of things. But I am very curious and very kind of nervous about WebflowConf and what they're going to announce. I'm certainly wanting to wait for it to mature a bit more to see how I can apply it to an overall system. And but I definitely use both components and slots right now. But there are certain limitations, so it's a little hard to go through depending what the needs are. Yeah.
Great. So Nancy, how can people find you online? What's the best way for us to connect with you?
Yeah, I'd say that if you want to find me professionally, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a quick message though with that invite. And then if you want to follow for some travel photos, you can follow me on Instagram. And I'm also on Twitter, on X. I'm not super active on X, so feel free to follow me on there too. But yeah.
Great. And I would suggest people go check out Nancy's work on her portfolio site. There's some beautiful pieces there. Absolutely. Great. All right. Well, Jeremy, shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, that brings us to the end of our 18th Northern Showcase, and we'd like to thank you all for joining us. Please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll continue doing what we do here, bringing you showcases and workshops and panels. And that's what you'll find here on our YouTube channel.
And you can also join us in the lodge and in person for some upcoming events. On October 4th, we have an SEO panel discussion with Iva, aka Search Historian, Shane Veldreason at Arrival Creator. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Alex Lathery at Blue Collar Builds. On October 11th, we have Marcel Dillon from SML Framework, and on October 15th, for those of you who are not going to the Webflow conference in person in San Francisco, and if you're in around Toronto, we are having a watch party around right downtown around Toronto Metro University. There's a limited amount of space, so make sure that you register. There's still room currently. I think we're at half capacity, but it's filling up quickly, and make sure that you get a spot. It will be a good one. Oh, and sorry, October 18th, we're all recovering from all of that no event. October 25th, post-conference wrap. So probably just hang out at the lodge, right?
Yep. All right. And so make sure you visit our website at nocodenorth.com. Sign up for our mailing list to receive all of our latest updates. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And join us on Fridays in the Lodge, which is our cool gather space. And our Lodge Hangouts are open to anyone, everyone, wherever you are. And until next time, bye.
Bye, everyone.